Hello, this is Calvin with MakerFixes.com, and today we're going to cover some basics tools that are required for 3D printing. As you get into hobbies, lots of times you need, big toolboxes of stuff. And you really don't need that for 3D printing. Actually, some of the starting tools usually come with the printers. So let's. I'm going to get started here. The first section of this here is going to be the tools you need to actually build the machine if you're buying a kit. And 90% of the kits that I've seen actually come with some tools. They're not the greatest quality tools, but they're not bad. Of course, you're going to need a fairly small screwdriver. This comes with the net. One of them comes with the net, and one of them came with the trunk. See, I've got several of these. And it's not a bad little screwdriver. The tip is held up pretty well. And a little flat blade screwdriver. Okay. And in addition to that, I like to keep these little cheapy kits here with lots of little extra heads, interchangeable heads, so that you get in case you're modifying. That's later on down the road. Not so much for the build, but sometimes you can use these sockets to tighten things down. In the build, you may also find yourself having to use something like a crescent wrench to tighten up some of the parts. I like to keep one of these around. They come with, most of them come with Allen set wrenches. Having a better set's not bad. I've got this and a couple other sets. I keep several around, but you don't need these. This is something, if you got them, bring them out for your 3D printing area. They're nice to have. One thing that a lot of people don't get or don't understand when they set these up, tape measures. Okay. Square is nice too. I have one over there. It's a little triangle square. That way when you're putting parts together, you know they're square, or when you got to measure how far between, it's the same distance on that side, you know it's in the middle. Handy to have. They don't really, most of the directions I've read don't cover that greatly, but that's not a bad little deal to have. Those pliers. These are small little nuts and bolts, and sometimes you drop them down in the trenches, or you need to just get a grip on something to tighten it down. Not required to build them, but I have one of these, and this is a magnet on a stick. If you're like me, old, bad back, a lot of the parts you drop can be picked up with this. Now, there are some non-magnetic stainless bolts in some of these kits, and of course there's plastic parts, but this will save you a lot of your bending over, especially if it's in carpet like it is in my room here. This will help you pick up a lot of the parts, just never even have to get out of your chair. This is the lazy man's tool here. Works pretty well though. Okay. That's all you typically need. Oh, and they send you these little parts right here. You don't very often need these for the actual assembly. Sometimes you're cutting off, you'll have zip ties or something you need to cut the ends off. But during the printing, these are rather a valuable little asset. Okay. Most kits require no soldering, nothing like that, no extra wiring, so you're not doing any soldering at that point. Now, so that covers that part. I mean, screwdrivers, hand wrenches, you're good, and a lot of the stuff comes with what it's needs. My Creality came with this. As you can see, it's just a little itty bitty wrench. A set of wrenches is a lot better than this. These are kind of chintzy. They do the job, but if you have a better set of wrenches, it's not bad to have. Small wrenches, thin ones, are nice to have. Then when you get into finishing the product, or during the printing, some of the where you're printing, some of the stuff that's nice to have, believe it or not, is hairspray. See, it does wonders for my hair. Just makes it look gorgeous. On top of that, it's one of the ways to adhere the plastic to your bed. Another item that's very popular, you put blue painter's tape down. Actually, you can use white masking tape. It's the same stuff. The blue kind of stands out the color, and you see what's printing better. As you see on the CR10S back there, it's got some blue tape on there that's making that print stick that you see printing in the background. You probably can't see it there. See, it's got the blue painter's tape on it. If I can target the camera, there we go. And it has simple little Elmer's washable kids glue. I buy them in packs of 12 for $3 or something at Walmart. They're pretty cheap. I use the purple stuff. It does not stay purple. You cannot see it on your print when you're done. It does help it to stick. Now you can print on straight glass with hairspray. Now there are other things you can put down on there. This is a small roll. Crayon tape. Some people put that across the whole thing. It sticks to this nice. Obviously that narrow size I wouldn't use that, but this is rather expensive, so I don't use this. I'm on the cheap side. Okay. One of the things that during print up and setup that's handy to have, and also when you're printing stuff, is a digital caliper. I got this one at Harbor Freight. It's not very expensive. It does digital. It does metric and imperial measurements. It shuts itself off automatically usually, and as soon as you move it, it turns on. When you're first setting your printer up, knowing how big that little print was, you can print a 20mm block, pop it in there right away, and you know how close or far off or on your print is each way or whatever. Handy little tool to have for when you're printing. For finishing prints, oh, sorry, we're not done. Another thing when you're setting up and getting your stuff ready, one of these is a kind of a handy little toy, especially when you get into some of the exotic filaments and you want to know what the temperature of something is. What this is just a little temperature gauge. You point it at something. 57 Celsius. That's my bed temperature right now. Don't know that I can actually hit the hot end. And right now I'm having problems with my hot end. So it's not going to be accurate. I'm only saying it's 41. My hot end is actually leaking plastic up the top right now, which I have to fix after this print's done. I'm sitting here waiting for that to gob up and cut off another piece of the gob. The print looks nice, but it's gobbing a little bit out on me. It's leaking out the top of the nozzle. Anyway, this is, I think I paid $15 on Amazon for this, and I think I'll put a link. I think I can put a link to this for you. You don't need a high-end $200 one, just a little cheapy, just to give you an idea where you're at temperature. These gauges and some of these things aren't 100% accurate. Neither is this. It gives you a good idea where you're at, though. For finishing work of your product, that's where you get all kinds of stuff you can get. I mean, you can get, for ABS, you can get acetone, which is nail polish remover, or buy it at the hardware store. It's stronger. You can actually smooth your prints with that. I've heard chloroform works. I've not tried that yet. I'm looking at that for PLA, where you can smooth the PLA. But lots of times when your print comes out, and I've got one up here, your print comes out of here, and this is an X-Wing, which I've actually broke the gun off of already and soldered it back on. Yes, solder. There are some more expensive tools, but I actually melted the plastic and stuck it back on there. It's not perfect, but I might do a little bit more doctoring with it, but I soldered it back on, got it hot. Wood burners probably do the same thing. But another thing that's handy is a cheap little deburring tool, which I just recently got in here. And what's nice about these is it's like an X-Acto knife. It's a little safer on the fingers. Me and X-Acto knives have met too many times, and you can run your finger on the backside of this and put a little pressure on this, and you have a lot less chance of taking out the fingertips. Now, don't get me wrong, you can still get cut with a deburring tool. But this particular one here, which I will try to put a link into in the article on my makerfixes.com website. And this one actually came with a whole bunch of different blades. The blades last a long time when you're doing it on plastic. It came with different shaped blades, big ones, little ones, thick ones, thin ones. And for, I think, maybe $10 or $15, it wasn't very much for this thing. Might have been $12.99. I'll look it up, but it come with a whole bunch of different blades, which I've got to find a better home for here. But right now, I just made a mess of them, right? And it was like this little kit's supposed to hold them. I don't know how well I'm going to do with this, but yeah, look at that. It goes right in there. There you go. Okay, anyway, the burring tool. Another thing that comes in real handy, Annette sends these, Creole, Chauncey. I've got several pairs. I've seen people cry when they lose these things. You can buy them on Amazon, you can just buy themselves, but they are such a handy little, sharp little thing. I mean, you can do your fingernails with them. They're pretty sharp little deals. For cleaning up plastic and strings on your prints. Best if you don't get strings on your prints, but we all do. Doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to get a string of them once in a while. Very handy. To get your prints off, putty knives. Okay. They have removal tools. I personally like. I don't see where it's at right now. I keep shutting it down. There it is. I have an old one here. It's been around the block a few times, but it's got a thin, flexible blade. And this seems to be the one that works the best. This one's a cheaper one. It's got a sharp edge, but it doesn't seem to be able to get under quite as good as this old style one. It's got a lot of bend to that, and it's a nice. It might be just because it's wore down over the years, but that seems to be the one. And Creole sends one here with a very sharp edge. This was the one Creole sent with my CR10S. I still like my old one better. Use what works for you, but putty knives are pretty cheap. They don't cost a fortune. Remember I was telling you I got a few of these. These things, if you collect 3D printers like I do, these things breed. Okay. Another thing that's really handy for cleaning up prints when you're done with prints is files. Little bitty ones, little cheapy files. They get down in the tight spots, and you can clean up spots real nice with these things. Almost every print I do, I file something on, unless it's to make it pretty. If I'm doing a pretty print, obviously when I'm doing prints like this, just parts for printer accessories, I don't worry so much about it. But when I'm doing spaceships or whatever else, speaking of spaceships, let me put my spaceship back up here before I break it here. But when you get into little stuff like this little TIE fighter I got here, little files get down into these little crevices, and I got some smaller ones in this. Great tool to clean them up with. You can't use big old X-Acto knives; you break them too easy. So that's a good finishing tool. Handy to have. Super glue. I do get this question. What can I use to glue my PLA? Well, you can use a soldering iron. It will glue it. There's actually a new tool I've seen on the market that actually, for the resin printers, and most of us don't have resin printers, I don't. They have a little tool that can put resin in there and glue it together. Don't have one, so I haven't been able to test it yet. And there's also a, I forgot what they call that thing, 3D repair or something. It's a soldering iron with fancy tips, basically, but it's 168 bucks, so I don't own one. I would imagine the wood burner will almost do the same thing, but this will glue it. You can glue it with a soldering iron or glue it with this. Okay. And then you get into modifications. What do you need for modifications? Wire, crimps. Okay. One of the first things that people do, a lot of people do, is they go and put a ramps board in a net machine. Well, strippers, you can use regular strippers. I found these at a pretty good rate. These are nice. But to do the DuPont clamps, it needs a special crimper. So now I got into this and I started playing with JST, and I had to make JST crimps. Same company, it's a different crimper. There's different widths. They do not interchange. These are 22 bucks a pair. This is about half that right here. So if these are really handy if you want to rewire things. You want to get into that part of the aspect. I bought these off of eBay. Of course, wire cutters, needle pliers, soldering iron, solder. I don't have them over there, but they have boxes that you can get on Amazon of metric screws. Having an assortment of them, stuff like that laying around is really, really handy. Uh, buy a little bit at a time is all I can say. Buy one, you go buy a set of metric M3s, go buy some M4s, and then go buy some M5s. T-nuts. If you have an aluminum frame extruder, little T-nuts like this. Some of the like the Tronxy, when I got my Tronxy X3 over there, which I've still got to do the review on, it didn't have enough of these. Having a few of these in stock saved me waiting for them to come in. And you can get these from AliExpress. You can get them fast from Amazon, but I think they're cheaper on AliExpress. Of course, modifications, these tool sets are really, really handy. Soldering is a problem for a lot of people. Of course, soldering is sometimes comes into play. What I did is I bought a kit, and I've soldered before in my life. But my little kit I got on Amazon had this little tool right here, and you get a little too much solder on there, you put that down there, and it sucks it right back up for you. Little desoldering tool. That pretty much covers my bevy of tools. There's other tools you can get. You just keep spending money and spending money and spending money. But a little cheapy set, I paid $3 or $4 a piece for these. Paid $3 or $4 for this set. You can buy better stuff. I paid $20 for the soldering iron with a bunch of tools in it. 15 for under $100. You can be a modder in this thing. Oh, I don't think we covered this. For those who want to do wiring, sometimes you'll see online you need to get the voltage at this pin. Little $20 multimeter. I think this one came from Walmart. I can't recall. It's got the voltages down there. Learn how to use this. Really handy when somebody's helping you. You come to some of the forums I'm involved in, they'll ask you, what's the voltage at this pin? Well, that's how you're going to find out. And digital is much better than the ones with the dial across, guys. Get a digital. They're a little bit more accurate. This is an invaluable tool if you're rewiring, you're putting in a BL Touch, you're rewiring the board and putting in a MOSFET board. You know what a MOSFET looks like with one of these. That's a MOSFET board. You got to know what the voltage is sometimes. They'll ask you where a problem is. So, whoops, let's not destroy my MOSFET board. One tool I didn't cover that I use all the time. This is one of my most valuable tools. It's this little piece of metal. This come out of a feeler gauge. And you'll see that they say level your bed, which I don't have a video on leveling the bed, but there's a lot of them out there. It shows you putting a piece of paper underneath the bed. I find that this is much more accurate. You don't have to worry about how thick the paper is, because as we know, when you pick up two pieces of paper, they're not the same thickness. This tells you exactly how thick this is. This one's 0.152 millimeters. No. And the whole set comes with all different. You got both metric and standard sizes on there. I throw this under slide this under there, and I get the feel much easier to level than with a piece of paper that bends up when it's too close. This doesn't bend; it just stops at the when you slide on and go to the hot end. It just stops. The paper crinkles a little bit when you do that. It's just kind of a pain in the neck. And I know how thick this is. It tells me how thick it is. Paper, you pick up 3 different kinds of paper, and you got 3 different sizes. Some people say receipt paper. Get a feeler gauge, they're cheap. Auto parts stores carry these. You can get them on Amazon, you get them on AliExpress. You go down to Riley's, whatever. All those places carry these. You get a whole pack of them, which I only use 3 or 4 of them. So, but sometimes you need to change your size as you want to readjust it for a different kind of a print. You can pull out the other one. You want to go to 0.2 or you want to go to 0.1 for whatever reason. You can pull the different one out and know you're hitting it right on the money. Very valuable little tool. And that's my toolbox. I've got all my tools laying right here. Yeah, once in a while I got to pull something else out of the bag. Regular old household tools. It's pretty rare. This is everything in one little, I'll pile up on the table, which is where it usually is, pile up on the table. And when I'm modifying or doing stuff like that, boom, 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 this is all I need. Typically, printers don't need half-inch wrenches and diesel tools. This is just a bunch of cheapy little tools. A little socket set might be nice. I have a little socket set. I just bought one of these right here. Metric. Every printer I've seen is done in metric. I don't know about the American-made ones. I can't afford American-made ones. My specialty is Chinese printers and making Chinese printers work better. That's what most of our specialties are in this field. We're buying Chinese printers and trying to make them do stuff that they don't do out of the box. So as we get better, we learn more, we try to improve them. So I hope some of this information helped. If you're new to the sport or new to the hobby, it's a sport for me. I spend a lot of time sitting in this chair watching football, playing with my toys here. But if you're new to it, you can start off with real basic tools, build as you go. You don't need much. I don't think I have $100 invested in tools for this whole thing, and I do just fine. There's no, if I need whatever I need is laying right on this table. Well, I might have $100. There's $50 right there, but to start with, you don't need them. You can actually buy a lot of the wires pre-assembled. So, hope this helps, and check out my site at makerfixes.com. If you like this, click like or subscribe down below, and thanks a bunch.